They call me a prodigy, a once-in-a-generation mind. My name is Elias Thorne, but in the hushed halls of academia, they whispered a different name for me, Andrealphus. It started when I was a kid. While other children were learning to count, I was seeing the secret language of numbers, the elegant dance of primes, the hidden symmetries and the chaos of the universe. Math wasn't a subject to me. It was the source code of reality itself, and I was determined to crack it. My obsession became a specific, maddeningly beautiful problem, the Riemann hypothesis. For over a century, the greatest minds had tried and failed to solve it. But I wasn't just another mind. I could see the patterns they missed, the echoes in the static. I'd locked myself away for weeks, my world shrinking to a chalkboard, a piece of chalk, and the ghost of an equation that shimmered just beyond my grasp. My walls weren't covered in posters, but in sprawling, frantic calculations, a cathedral of chalk dust dedicated to a single divine truth. Then one rainy Tuesday, it happened. It wasn't a sudden eureka moment like in the movies. It was quieter, more profound. A final variable clicked into place. A rogue prime number settled into a sequence I hadn't anticipated, and the entire structure solidified. It wasn't just a proof. It was something more, a formula. It was impossibly elegant, a single line of symbols that seemed to hum with a strange, latent power. It was the master key, the equation that didn't just describe reality, but defined it. I stared at it, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I had done it. I, Elias Thorne, had solved the unsolvable. My first instinct was to share it, to publish, to claim my field medal, to etch my name into history. I called my mentor, Professor Albright, his voice a crackle of excitement over the phone. "Elias, are you sure?" he asked, his skepticism barely masking his hope. "I'm positive," I told him, my voice trembling. "I'm sending it to you now." I typed the formula into an email, my fingers flying. That single line of code. I hit send, and a wave of pure elation washed over me. I had touched the face of God. The next morning, the police found Professor Albright. He was in his study, slumped over his desk. The coroner said it was a massive, instantaneous brain aneurysm. A freak accident, a tragedy. I was devastated, but in my grief, a cold, sharp sliver of fear began to form. On his monitor, glowing in the dim light of his office, was the email I had sent. And my formula, my beautiful, perfect formula, was the last thing he ever saw. Coincidence, I told myself. A horrible, tragic coincidence. The stress, his age. It had to be. But I couldn't shake the feeling. I decided to send it to one other person, a rival of mine from Cambridge, Dr. Anya Sharma. She was brilliant, arrogant, and the only other person on Earth who might understand the depth of what I'd found. We had a contentious relationship. I sent the formula with a simple, smug subject line, "Beat you to it." 2 days later, the news broke. Dr. Sharma had been in a self-driving car, a top-of-the-line model with a flawless safety record. On a clear, dry afternoon, the car's navigation system inexplicably malfunctioned. It veered off a bridge. The logs showed a total system failure, a 1 in a billion glitch in the code, a cascade of impossible errors. And as I stared at the news report, a horrifying certainty crystallized in my gut. The formula wasn't a discovery. It was a weapon dot. It wasn't just math. It was a piece of forbidden knowledge, a logical paradox so profound that the human mind, or even a sophisticated AI, simply couldn't process it without breaking. To comprehend the formula was to understand a fundamental flaw in the fabric of existence, A truth so jarring that the brain just shuts down. It short circuits, aneurysms, system failures. These were just the symptoms. The cause was my equation. It was a cognitive virus, a curse written in the language of the cosmos. Now, I live in a self-imposed exile. The prodigy Andrealphus is dead. In his place is Elias Thorne, a haunted man who holds the world's most dangerous secret. I burned the chalkboards, wiped the hard drives, destroyed every last trace of my work, all except for one, the copy that lives in my head, seared into my memory. I can never forget it. I spend my days in a remote cabin, disconnected from everything, terrified of a stray thought, a muttered word, a doodle on a napkin that might unleash this plague upon the world. They said I was a prodigy who discovered the language of God. They were wrong. I found a typo, and I'm terrified of what will happen if anyone else ever reads it.